Seems either the battery or the wire is dying. I'm struggling to find the right angle to keep it bright. Welcome to how Alyce Pestle gets dressed. Start with the foundation of the shift, as well as the hose and boots already on, since stooping to put on shoes will be much more difficult later. Next, we put on the cap, a St. Brigitte style. Simply place it over the head, center it, wrap the strap around the back and back over the front, and pin. Next is the petticoat, which simply pulls over the head and hooks at the back of the waist. She will then reach up under the petticoat to tug her shift down through the waistband to pull it tight to her chest. Then come the pockets. These are technically anachronistic, but they are worn in such a way to be hidden. They tie around the waist with the bow at the front to reduce the bulk that's already at the back. Then we put on the top skirt, again over the head, hooked at the back of the waist, and make sure the pocket openings are lined up with the pockets. Now this is the most complicated piece, is the bodice, due to the lacing. It is a front lacing bodice, and this is a spiral lace. You'll notice the eyelets are offset to create that distinctive zigzag or angled appearance of the lacing. Knot the lace just inside the last eyelet at the top. We're going to fold and tuck the lace inside the bodice neatly away. Next is the apron, which simply ties around the waist. You know how an apron works. And sometimes it's a little difficult to do it by yourself, but we manage. Next is jewelry. Now, being a merchant class, she is allowed to wear some jewelry within her means. She usually wears these brass spirals, which came from a friend of hers who lives in the south of France. And she has two necklaces. She'll usually switch between this Celtic knot on this leather cord, or this nicer blue beaded pewter knot, also from that friend who lives in France. She also has a silver Celtic cross pendant, not shown here. Next is the belt, which is a tie-on belt, so it just has this brass loop. She's showing you the bottle that she normally keeps on it, and this frog, we'll show you what that does in a moment, but these have to be put on the belt before it's tied. You simply pass the strap through the loop, pull it tight, pass the strap up behind the belt, and then where that loop is, where her finger was, pull it back down through there. Give it one more tug at each tension point for security. And then you can adjust everything as you need. That frog is designed for a wine chalice, so she's putting it there. She loves a spot of wine when she can afford it. These are skirt hikes. They simply fasten to the belt and allow you to pull portions of your skirt up for appearance or to get off the ground for whatever reason. You pull it up through two loops and back down through one. On dreary, English, Irish, typical mornings, or on colder winter days, rainy days, she'll wear this linen cloak. So it has a simple leather toggle strap and a nice full hood, and it is floor length there, so it's full coverage. Does wonders to keep the moisture and the cold off. But as it is summer, we don't need it. We instead need one of these hats. She has two different versions. One fits snugger to her head, the other's a bit more flat. So one can be worn normally. The other uses this lovely iron and glass hat pin to fasten through the cap, and she usually tries to pass it under or through her braids as well to keep it nice and tight to her head. And fun fact, hats would be worn specifically down and to the right for ladies and down to the left for men. We also have a fan made of palm and this little crocheted bottle bag to finish the look, and there you have it. We're both very, very pleased and proud of this, and we're so glad you get to see the whole thing nicely put together. And here you have more or less how my daily clothing comes together on my person. Now, different things will change from day to day depending on what I'm doing and what I need, but most typically this is what you see is shift, two skirts, pockets, and bodice with the belt and the apron on top and the cap to cover my head and my hair. This is fairly standard for a commoner. Some things will change depending on how much that commoner can afford. For instance, a merchant or artisan class is going to be able to afford more than someone who is strictly a working class. I am very fortunate in that I work for my pay and I do very well in my shop, making and selling all of my mixes, my potions and such. If a day is particularly dreary or wet, I will of course forego the hat and only wear the cloak because that keeps the wet off. On particularly windy days, in spite of the sun, often I will need to take off the hat or switch to the one that fits a bit more close to my head because it fits rather snug over the braids and the cap, and that way it's not going to budge quite as easily, whereas the wind really likes to try to pull me away with this one. I also have a ring that I wear every now and then. It's simple pewter, which is fairly common among commoner class to be able to afford such. The main things I have to avoid are any shades whatsoever of violet. Now, the lovely little gem on my hat is placed in such a way that it is not immediately noticeable, and it was a gift directly from Her Majesty. I do technically have permission to own it. It can be moved, or the pins around it can be moved if need be in order to hide it. And of course, if I have more to carry than just a bottle, I would typically use either a basket or bags of all sorts made of linen. We are starting to get access to cotton, but linen is the go-to for anything soft. And if you need something sturdier, you can use either a basket. Baskets are ubiquitous to all classes, or leather. Leather is going to be your very sturdy but also soft option. I do also often have a holster of sort, as Alirien likes to call it. I do have a special frog that fits onto my belt for vials. So if I am particularly busy running around my shop and I'm going to need particular herbs at a moment's notice, I will have 3 or 4 vials strapped to me with those go-to herbs for whatever purpose. There are all sorts of things that will change day to day, but this is the basic, the go-to look. If any of you have any questions or want to know more about my life, my day-to-day, feel free to ask in the comments below. I'm sure Alirien will let me know and I can get back to her and to all of you as soon as possible. We want to thank you all so much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed the video and this more in-depth look at how all the layers come together. And I'm told this is the final video of myself for you to enjoy, at least for now. So if you would like to see more of me, be sure to let Alirien know and we'll figure out what we can do for that. If you've enjoyed the video, please click whatever buttons or links there are to show that love. I'm told you know where that is. If you'd like to see more content like this, the costume playlist is linked up here and down there, as well as the Linktree portal where you can find all of Alirien's other adventures on all of the other media planes. We would like, as always, to give a huge thankful shout out to Alirien's Coven of Patrons who continue to be her biggest supporters, and if you, dear viewer, would like to join their ranks, please again check that Linktree portal for her Patreon where pledges start at $1 a month. Gramercy, once again, stay tuned for meeting, if I dare say, a very good friend of mine, even though I might get in trouble for calling her my friend at our very different stations, as well as more game playing, and I'm told there's some sort of surprise that will be coming up between this video and the beginning of the Viscountess's garb being constructed. I'm not sure what is in store, but I'm sure you will enjoy it. And that's all from me, so have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and what was it? Right, keep aiming, my loves. And of course, I have to always sign off with a good hearty Irish sláinte. I started to remove things and remembered I never showed you the surprise of this little bottle. One moment, we need to turn off the light. Aha, I have all these sweet little fairy lights. I have no idea how Alirien did it or where she found it, but I love it so much, and it makes walking home in the winter when it's darker faster much nicer. Isn't it so pretty?